All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be taking a close look at Greaves Cotton Ltd's Q3 FY25 financials.
Yeah, they just came out.
And there's a lot going on with this company.
Absolutely. A company in transition, as they say.
Yeah, so we've got their official reports to the Bombay Stock Exchange and the National Stock Exchange of India.
Right.
And we also have some great questions to sort of guide our deep dive here.
Absolutely.
Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of these financial reports, is there anything that sort of jumped out at you as particularly interesting or noteworthy?
Well, one thing that really caught my eye was this write-off of government subsidies that they were expecting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, almost 362 crore rupees.
Whoa. Okay, so that's a pretty big deal.
And that's not small potatoes.
Yeah. So what happened there?
Well, it has to do with their move into electric vehicles,
Okay.
but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Sure.
First, let's look at the overall financial picture.
Okay, great. So, give us the headlines.
Yeah.
How did they perform this quarter?
So starting with the standalone revenue, which is just their own operations, not including their subsidiaries.
Right.
That came in at 502.22 crore rupees for the quarter,
Okay.
which is a jump from the previous quarter
Uh-huh.
and even higher than Q3 of last year.
Okay. So looking good revenue-wise on the surface, at least.
Yeah.
What about when we factor in the subsidiaries?
Yeah.
What's the consolidated picture?
So consolidated revenue tells a similar story. It was 750.60 crore rupees.
Okay.
Again, exceeding both the previous quarter and the year-ago quarter.
Okay, so revenue's up.
Yeah.
But of course, we all know that that's only part of the story.
Right.
What about the bottom line? What
Yeah.
kind of profit did they bring in?
So the standalone net profit was 48.95 crore rupees.
Okay.
But there are some one-off exceptional items included there that we'll have to kind of unpack later.
Okay. All right. So some twists and turns in the profit picture.
Yeah.
And what about consolidated profit for the whole group?
Yeah, so that came in at 6.68 crore rupees,
Okay.
which is actually significantly lower than the 45.60 crore profit
Wow.
that they reported in the same quarter last year.
Okay. So definitely some more to that story than just rising revenue.
Yeah.
It sounds like we need to look at the different parts of their business to really understand what's going on.
Right, and that brings us to this transformation that Greaves Cotton is undergoing.
All right.
They're moving away from this traditional engine manufacturing business
Uh-huh.
and really pushing into electric mobility and other vehicles.
Okay.
And to that end, they even acquired a company called Excel Control Linkage
Oh, wow.
and also bought a stake in MLR Auto,
Interesting.
really trying to bolster their presence in this new market.
Okay, so the big question is it working?
Right. Is this strategic shift paying off?
Exactly. Yeah. So let's look at the performance of their different segments and
Yeah.
see what's working and what's not.
All right. So let's start with their bread and butter, the engine segment.
Okay.
This part of the business is still profitable. They brought in a segment profit of 81.02 crore rupees this quarter.
All right.
But there's signs that this old reliable might be facing some challenges.
Oh, really? What kind of signs?
Yeah. So they reported what's called an impairment loss of 16 crore rupees
Okay.
on their engine-related property, plant, and equipment.
So what does that mean exactly?
Well, basically, it means that some of their engine assets
Okay.
might not be worth as much as they used to be.
I see.
So is that a signal that that the electric vehicle trend is already starting to impact their traditional engine business?
It very well could be.
Okay.
As you know, the world is shifting towards electric vehicles,
Yeah.
and traditional engine manufacturers are going to have to adapt.
Or risk being left behind.
That makes sense.
Okay.
All right. So what about their performance in the electric mobility and other vehicle segment?
Yeah.
This is where they've been placing a lot of their bets, right?
Right. This is where we see some real challenges.
Okay.
So despite significant revenue growth,
Right.
this segment is actually reporting substantial losses.
Okay.
They posted a loss of 83.77 crore rupees this quarter.
Wow.
And remember that that big subsidy write-off that we talked about?
Yeah.
That directly impacts this segment.
Okay. So let's dig into that a little bit.
Okay.
Can you explain what happened with that FAME2 subsidy issue?
Sure.
And for those of us who aren't familiar with all the technical terms, what exactly is FAME2?
So FAME2 stands for Faster Adoption and Manufacturing of Electric Vehicles in India Phase 2.
Okay.
And it's a government program that's designed to encourage the adoption of electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Essentially, they offer subsidies to manufacturers
Uh-huh.
who meet certain requirements, like using a certain percentage of locally sourced components in their vehicles.
Okay.
Greaves Cotton, through their subsidiary, Greaves Electric Mobility Limited, or GML,
Mm-hmm.
was expecting to receive, significant subsidies under this scheme.
All right, so something went wrong with those subsidies.
Yeah, so GML hit a bit of a roadblock.
Okay.
The Ministry of Heavy Industries, which oversees this program,
Uh-huh.
raised concerns that GML wasn't actually meeting those localization requirements.
Oh.
They launched an investigation, and things got a little bit complicated.
Okay, so what happened next?
Well, GML initially tried to challenge the ministry's claims,
Okay.
but in the end, they decided to settle the matter
Okay.
and refund a portion of the subsidies that they had already received.
Okay.
That refund ended up being a hefty 139.98 crore rupees,
Wow.
which included the original subsidy amount plus interest.
Oh, okay.
This was a major hit to their financials,
Yeah.
especially for the previous fiscal year ending March 2024.
Okay. And so it sounds like that wasn't even the end of it.
Unfortunately, no. On top of that refund, they had to write off another 361.8 crore rupees in subsidy receivables
Wow.
during the first 9 months of this fiscal year.
Oh,
So essentially, they had to accept that they just wouldn't be receiving those future subsidies
ouch.
that they were counting on.
So they got hit twice.
Yeah.
First with the refund and then with the write-off.
Yeah, it was a tough situation.
No wonder their electric mobility segment is struggling.
Right.
Okay, but is there a light at the end of the tunnel here?
Well, there might be.
Okay, tell me more.
So GML has been working hard
Okay.
to address those localization concerns that the ministry raised,
Mm-hmm.
and they've actually managed to get all of their eligible vehicle models certified
Okay.
under a new program called the PME Drive Scheme.
Okay, so does that mean that they're back in the game?
Well, it's definitely a step in the right direction. This new scheme could potentially pave the way for them to receive subsidies again in the future.
Oh.
But it's still early days,
Yeah.
and there are no guarantees.
All right, so a lot of uncertainty still hangs over their electric mobility ambitions.
Right.
This whole situation really highlights how, government policies can make or break a company,
Yeah.
especially in emerging sectors like electric vehicles.
It's a crucial factor for investors to consider.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so we've talked about their engines segment, which is holding steady for now,
Right.
and their electric mobility and other vehicles segment, which is facing some serious headwinds.
Yeah.
What about their other business areas?
Yeah.
How did the cables and control levers segment perform?
So this segment continues to be a reliable performer for Greaves Cotton,
Okay.
consistently generating profits.
Good.
They recorded a segment profit of 18.40 crore rupees this quarter.
Okay.
So they seem to have a solid footing in this area.
And what about their remaining segments, the ones that they categorize as others?
Yeah. Unfortunately, those segments are currently experiencing minor losses,
Okay.
about 7.01 crore rupees for Q3.
Okay.
Nothing too dramatic, but not exactly contributing to the bottom line either.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we've got the hits and misses across their different business segments.
Right.
But let's go back to those exceptional items that you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Can you walk us through what those are?
Absolutely. So remember how we talked about the standalone profit
Yeah.
having some unusual items mixed in?
Yeah.
So these exceptional items are one-time events
Okay.
that have a big impact on profit,
Uh-huh.
but aren't part of their regular operations.
I see. Can you give us some examples of what those might be?
Sure. So we already discussed the FAMB2 subsidy issue
Right.
and the resulting write-off, which is a major exceptional item.
Okay.
But there are others, like the profit that they made from selling some land, which actually boosted their profit this quarter.
Okay.
That's recorded in their unallocable segment.
All right. So land sale subsidy issues. Anything else impacting the bottom line in an unusual way?
Yes. There's also that impairment loss on engines
Okay.
that we saw in their standalone results.
Yeah.
Remember how we talked about some of their engine assets potentially losing value?
Yeah.
That's reflected in this impairment charge.
Okay. So it's like a financial echo of those broader market trends that we were discussing.
Yeah.
The shift towards electric vehicles is not just an abstract idea.
Right.
It's starting to have a tangible impact on their traditional business.
Precisely. And these exceptional items often provide valuable insights into a company's underlying strengths and weaknesses
Yeah,
and how they're navigating these larger industry
that's a
shifts.
great point.
Okay.
Okay, so before we wrap up part one of this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to touch on one more interesting development.
Okay.
Greaves Cotton announced the appointment of a new independent director, Mrs. Kavita Nair.
Right.
What can you tell us about her?
So she's quite an impressive addition to their board.
Okay.
Um, Mrs. Nair has a stellar reputation for strategic vision,
Okay.
driving transformative change,
Mm-hmm.
and building powerful brands.
Okay.
Um, she's even been recognized as a top leader in India by major business publications.
Wow, she sounds like a real powerhouse.
Yeah.
What kind of experience does she bring to the table?
So her background is really diverse,
Okay.
but some highlights include her time as CEO of the consumer products business at Mahindra and Mahindra Limited,
Okay.
and her leadership roles at Vodafone Idea Limited and Unilever.
Huh?
She's known for her innovative thinking
Okay.
and ability to navigate complex business challenges.
It seems like Greaves Cotton might have snagged a real asset here,
Yeah.
especially as they're, trying to establish themselves as a leader in this electric mobility space.
I agree. Her expertise in driving transformation and building brands
Yeah.
could be invaluable as they try to make their mark in this competitive market.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see how her influence shapes their strategy moving forward.
So we've got a company in transition navigating a rapidly changing market, and now they've brought in a seasoned leader known for her transformative vision.
Yeah.
Sounds like things are about to get really interesting at Greaves Cotton.
You said it, and we've only just scratched the surface.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up part one of our deep dive into Greaves Cotton's Q3 FY25 results.
Okay.
We've covered the headline numbers, the challenges in their electric mobility segment, those intriguing exceptional items, and we even got a glimpse of their leadership changes.
Right.
Stay tuned for part two, where we'll analyze the implications of these results and delve deeper into Greaves Cotton's strategic moves.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Greaves Cotton's Q3 FY25 performance. We left off talking about some pretty big challenges, especially in their electric mobility segments. Like they're juggling two very different realities right now.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in for sure.
Yeah, so on the one hand, they've got this, this traditional engine business, which is still profitable, but seems to be facing an uncertain future.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, they're going all in on this electric mobility venture,
Yeah.
which has tons of potential, but is, currently hitting some serious roadblocks.
Yeah. A lot of bumps in the road.
Yeah, that FAME 2 subsidy issue really threw a wrench into their plans.
Yeah, it was a big setback.
It makes you wonder if they're starting to have second thoughts about this whole electric mobility push.
Yeah, I mean, it would be understandable if they were
Yeah,
feeling a bit hesitant after that.
right.
But actually, their actions suggest that they're still fully committed to this electric mobility game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
Well, for starters, they haven't abandoned their electric mobility subsidiary, GML.
Okay.
In fact, they're actually backing GML's plans for an initial public offering, an IPO. And they're aiming to raise a whopping 1,000 crore rupees through this IPO.
So they're going for it.
Yeah, they're not shying away.
It seems like a risky move, though.
Well, it is a calculated risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, some might say that they should focus on stabilizing
Right.
their electric mobility business before taking such a big leap.
Yeah, I mean, it could backfire, right?
It could.
Yeah.
But it also shows how confident they are
Okay.
in GML's long-term potential.
Yeah.
They clearly believe this market is going to be huge,
Yeah.
and they want to be a major player.
Okay, so they're going for it with the IPO.
Yeah.
What else are they doing to kind of address those concerns that were raised by the Ministry of Heavy Industries? Are they just hoping for the best with that new PME drive scheme?
No, not at all. They're being proactive.
Okay.
So remember how those localization requirements tripped them up?
Yeah.
Well, they've gone back and obtained the necessary certificates for all of their eligible vehicle models
Oh, okay.
under this new scheme.
So they're showing that they're serious about
Yeah.
playing by the rules.
Yeah, they're trying to get back in the government's good graces.
And if they can do that, then the subsidies could start flowing again.
Exactly. That would be a game changer for their profitability in this segment.
Yeah. Okay. So even though their electric mobility journey has been, bumpy, to say the least.
Yeah.
They are showing some resilience. They are, and they're adapting to the challenges and finding ways to move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's not just about navigating government regulations, right?
Right.
They also have to compete in what's becoming an increasingly crowded electric vehicle market. I mean, lots of established players and new startups are entering the game.
Yeah, the competition is heating up.
How can they stand out from the crowd?
Well, Greaves Cotton has a long history in the automotive sector in India.
That's true. Yeah.
They've been around for over a century,
Yeah.
building a reputation for quality and reliability.
They've got that brand recognition that a lot of these newer companies just don't have.
Yeah, and they're leveraging those strengths.
Yeah, okay.
As they make this transition to electric mobility.
Okay.
They're not just building electric vehicles, they're building an entire ecosystem around them.
Oh, okay.
Think charging infrastructure, service networks, even financing options.
So they're trying to create a kind of a complete
hassle-free experience.
Hassle-free experience for their customers.
For their customers, exactly.
That's a smart approach. I mean, it's not enough to just have, a cool electric scooter or a car.
Right.
You have to make the whole experience convenient.
Absolutely.
And appealing to really get people to make the switch.
Yeah, and they're also expanding their product line.
Okay.
Offering a wider range of electric vehicles to target different types of customers.
Okay.
They've got electric scooters, three-wheelers, even electric buses.
Wow. Okay, so they're really trying to cover all the bases.
Yeah, they're diversifying their electric mobility portfolio.
Okay.
Which makes sense. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Right, but all this investment in electric vehicles has to be expensive.
Yeah.
Can they really afford to keep this up? Especially after taking that big subsidy hit.
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at their financials.
Okay.
So they do carry a significant amount of debt.
Okay.
But their debt-to-equity ratio is still within a manageable range.
Okay.
Basically, that means they haven't borrowed so much money that it puts them in a risky position.
Okay, so they're not drowning in debt.
Right.
That's a good sign.
And they've got a strong cash flow coming in from their core engine business.
Right.
So that gives them some breathing room to invest in these new growth areas.
Right.
Plus, they're exploring various ways to raise more capital.
Right.
Including that potential IPO for GML.
Okay, so it seems like they have the financial resources to keep pursuing their electric mobility ambitions.
At least for the time being.
Yeah, but it's still a tightrope walk, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They need to manage their expenses carefully, make wise investment decisions, and stay laser-focused on how the market is evolving.
Right, because one wrong step could have some serious consequences.
Yeah, it's a tough environment to navigate.
It's like they're navigating a jungle.
Exactly.
Lots of potential rewards, but also plenty of dangers lurking around every corner.
Lots of pitfalls, yeah.
Okay, so speaking of navigating this jungle, let's talk about their leadership team.
Okay.
We touched on the appointment of Mrs. Kavia Nair as an independent director in the last part.
Right.
Given all the challenges that we've been discussing, do you think she has what it takes to help Greaves Cotton succeed in this new era of electric mobility?
I think she could be a real game changer for them.
Okay.
Remember, she's known for her expertise in driving transformative change and building successful brands.
Yeah.
Those are exactly the skills that Greaves Cotton needs right now as they try to carve out a place for themselves in this rapidly evolving market.
It's not just about building a good electric vehicle. It's about creating a brand that resonates with consumers.
Exactly.
That builds trust and excitement.
You got it.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Nair has a proven track record of doing just that.
Okay.
She helped transform Mahindra and Mahindra's consumer products business and played key leadership roles at companies like Vodafone Idea Limited and Unilever.
Yeah.
She knows how to navigate complex business environments and build iconic brands.
So it's like they've brought in a seasoned explorer to guide them through this this uncharted territory.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
They're entering a new era, and they need someone with her vision and experience to help them chart the right course.
Right.
It'll be fascinating to see what kind of impact she has on their strategy moving forward.
Okay, so we've talked about their strategic direction, their financial health, their leadership team.
Yeah.
But let's zoom out a bit. Okay.
And look at the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
What are the trends that are shaping the electric mobility landscape in India?
Right.
Why are so many companies, including Greaves Cotton, betting big on this market?
Well, we're seeing a convergence of several factors that
Okay.
are driving the growth of electric mobility in India right now.
Okay, like what? What's fueling this electric vehicle boom?
Well, for one, there's a growing awareness of the environmental impact of traditional vehicles.
Okay.
Um, Air pollution is a major problem in many Indian cities.
Yeah.
And people are starting to see electric vehicles as a cleaner and more sustainable alternative.
So there's a push from consumers who are uh, becoming more environmentally conscious.
Exactly.
They're demanding cleaner transportation options.
Yeah, and it's not just consumer demand that's driving this shift.
Okay.
The Indian government is also heavily promoting electric mobility through various policies and incentives.
Okay.
Remember that FAMI 2 scheme we talked about?
That's just one example of their efforts to boost electric vehicle adoption.
So the government sees the potential for electric mobility to, reduce their dependence on fossil fuels
Absolutely.
and create a greener transportation system.
Yeah. And they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Okay.
They've set ambitious targets for electric vehicle adoption and are investing heavily in things like charging infrastructure and manufacturing incentives.
It's kind of a combination of a carrot and a stick approach.
Yeah, you got it.
Incentives to encourage consumers and regulations to kind of push manufacturers in the right direction.
It seems to be working.
Okay.
The electric vehicle market in India is growing rapidly.
Okay.
More and more models are hitting the market, and sales are steadily increasing.
But it's still early days, right?
It is.
I mean, there are still challenges to overcome.
Yeah.
Like the cost of electric vehicles, the availability of charging infrastructure,
Right.
and maybe even just general consumer awareness.
You're absolutely right. Those are all real challenges,
Yeah.
but the momentum is definitely building.
Okay.
And Greaves Cotton is positioning itself to capitalize on this growing market. They're betting that electric mobility isn't just a passing fad.
Right.
It's a fundamental shift in how people will get around in the future.
And they're not alone in that bet.
No, they're not.
Lots of other companies, both big and small, are making similar moves.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
It's a race to watch, for sure.
It is.
But Greaves Cotton isn't just relying on organic growth to get ahead.
Right.
They've also been making some strategic acquisitions to kind of bolster their position in this space.
Yeah.
Like those acquisitions of Excel Control Linkage
Right.
and the stake in MLR Auto that we talked about early.
Exactly. So remember how Excel Control Linkage
Yeah.
is a leading manufacturer of automotive components.
Yeah.
Well, acquiring them strengthens Greaves Cotton's supply chain and manufacturing capabilities. It's like they're assembling all the building blocks.
Yeah.
They need to compete effectively in this market.
And that stake in MLR Auto gives them a foothold in the three-wheeler market,
Right.
which is already seeing significant electric vehicle adoption in India.
Yeah. They're not just focusing on cars and scooters.
Okay.
They're looking at all forms of transportation that are ripe for electrification.
It's a smart approach.
It is.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our dip dive.
Yeah, we have.
We've talked about their strategic direction, their financial health, their leadership team, and the broader market context.
Right.
It's clear that they're facing some major challenges,
Yeah.
but also some exciting opportunities as they tried to make their mark in this electric mobility revolution.
Yeah. And it's important to remember that we're just looking at a snapshot in time.
Right.
This market is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
The next few quarters will be crucial for Greaves Cotton as they try to execute their strategy and adapt to the changing landscape.
They're going to need to make some smart moves.
Yeah.
And maybe get a few lucky breaks along the way.
A little bit of luck never hurts.
That's true. That's true. All right, welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into Greaves Cotton's Q3 FY25 results.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have. We've looked at their strategic shift, their financials, the competitive landscape. It's been quite a journey.
It has.
So now let's step back and see what we can learn from all of this.
Okay.
What are the key takeaways here?
Well, it's fascinating to see a company like Greaves Cotton
Yeah.
with, such a long history in traditional manufacturing, actively reinventing itself for the future.
Yeah.
They're not just reacting to the market. They're trying to anticipate what's coming next
Right.
and position themselves accordingly.
It's almost like they're building a bridge from the past to the future.
Yeah.
One foot firmly planted in their legacy engine business.
Right.
And the other taking a leap of faith into the world of electric mobility.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the balancing act that they're facing right now. They need to maintain profitability in their established businesses
Yeah.
while simultaneously pouring resources into these new, unproven growth areas.
It's a high wire act.
It is.
But they've got a few things working in their favor.
Yeah.
A strong brand,
Yeah.
a solid financial foundation,
Right.
and a leadership team that's willing to take risks.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the broader market trends that are
Yeah.
giving them a boost.
Yeah.
Government support for electric vehicles is growing. Consumers are becoming more environmentally conscious.
Yeah.
And fuel costs are rising.
Yeah.
All of these factors
Yeah.
are pushing the market towards electric mobility.
So it seems like the stars are aligning for this electric vehicle revolution.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
But Greaves Cotton isn't alone in this race. I mean, they're facing some fierce competition from both established giants and nimble startups.
Absolutely. The electric vehicle market is becoming increasingly crowded.
Yeah.
And everyone is vying for a piece of the pie.
So Greaves Cotton is really going to have to play their cards, right?
Yeah.
Stand out from the crowd.
It will.
So if you were advising them, what would you say?
Okay.
What are the key takeaways from this deep dive that could help them succeed in this rapidly evolving market?
I think there are three crucial things that they need to focus on.
Okay.
First, they need to learn from that FAME2 subsidy setback.
Yeah.
It was a costly lesson, but it highlighted the importance of carefully navigating government policies and regulations in this space.
Yeah, they can't afford to make any missteps.
Right.
When it comes to compliance.
One wrong move could set them back years.
For sure, for sure.
Second, they need to go all in on building a comprehensive electric mobility ecosystem. It's not just about selling vehicles. It's about providing a seamless and enjoyable experience for customers. So think convenient charging infrastructure, reliable service networks, accessible financing options, the whole package.
They need to make it easy and appealing for people to embrace electric vehicles.
Exactly.
Yeah, to overcome any lingering hesitation or inconvenience.
Right. They need to offer a compelling value proposition that goes beyond the product itself.
Okay, and the third thing?
Third, they need to stay agile and adaptable.
Okay.
This market is constantly shifting.
Yeah.
With new technologies, new business models, and new competitors emerging all the time.
So they can't afford to get stuck in their ways.
No, they need to be able to pivot quickly, adjust their strategies, and embrace innovation.
So if they can do those three things, navigate regulations, effectively build a strong ecosystem, and stay agile, you think they have a good chance of making it in this
I do.
In this exciting but challenging market?
Yeah, it's a tough market, but I think they have the potential.
Okay, so those are the key takeaways for Greaves Cotton.
Right.
But what about for our listeners?
Okay.
What should they be watching for in the coming months as this story unfolds?
Well, here are a few things to keep an eye on.
Okay.
First, will they be able to start receiving subsidies again under that new PME drive scheme?
Yeah.
That's a big question mark.
Yeah, for sure.
And the answer will tell us a lot about their ability to work within the government's framework.
Okay, and what about that potential IPO for their electric mobility subsidiary, GEML?
Right.
Will they be able to pull that off successfully?
Yeah, that's another major milestone to watch.
Yeah.
If they can launch that IPO, it'll give them a huge influx of cash to fuel their growth ambitions.
And beyond the financials, what about their products and partnerships?
Okay.
Are they introducing any new and innovative electric vehicles?
Right.
Are they teaming up with other players in the ecosystem to expand their reach and capabilities?
Yeah, those are all great indicators of their commitment to innovation and their ability to compete in this market.
And finally, let's not forget to keep an eye on their overall financial performance.
Yeah, that's key.
Are they able to keep those profits flowing from their traditional engine business while investing heavily in electric mobility?
Right.
Are they managing their expenses and debt effectively?
Those are the fundamental metrics
that
will ultimately determine their success or failure in this transition.
It's a complex and evolving story,
It is.
but one that's definitely worth following closely.
I agree. Greaves Cotton is at a crossroads balancing tradition with transformation.
Yeah,
Their next move could be pivotal not just for them,
right.
but for the future of electric mobility in India.
Okay, well, on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into Greaves Cotton's Q3 FY25 results.
Right.
We've dissected their financials, analyzed their strategy, and explored the exciting possibilities of the electric vehicle market.
We covered a lot.
It's clear that this is a company in motion determined to leave its mark on the future of transportation. So stay tuned because this journey is just getting started.